friends. Welcome back to my little cross-stitch world here. My name is Barb. I live here in West Seneca, New York. I am a cross-stitcher, a long-arm quilter, and I am going to share with you some of the things that I have been doing since my last floss tube, which was on February 16th. Now, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get another one in before our trip to Florida, but I said today, because I have a laundry list of things to do, I said, let's do a floss tube, Barb. And that won out. So I welcome you here. I know I have a couple new followers, and I'm so excited. I have 202 followers now, and I think that's great. And you're welcome here, and I encourage you to leave comments, ask questions, any tips or tricks that you have that I might be different about. You know, maybe there's something that you do that's a little bit easier. I am all open for suggestions, because anything that can speed up my cross-stitching and my quilting to help me work through all of my whips, I'm happy about. So anyway, today is March 2nd, Monday, March 2nd. Spring is around the corner. Daylight savings, I believe, is next weekend. So we are going to pop forward an hour, just so that, you know, daylight works better for us. I don't think we like to have a tendency to say we lose an hour of sleep, but I don't think so. It works out in the end. It's always nicer in the fall when you can set the clock at 2 o'clock and it goes back to 1 o'clock, and then, okay, but that's okay. It is close to spring. I am hoping that when I come back from Florida, I can look in my gardens and see things popping up. I am leaving this Friday morning. I'm driving down with my son and his family, and we are going to Disney, taking the kids. And I'm also meeting another one of my sons who lives down in Florida. He and his family will be there as well. So this grandma is tickled silly to be down there with at least two of my kids. Maybe in my lifetime, I will have all four of my kids and families down there, and that is a goal. But anyway, for now, that's where we're at. So I'm trying to get through everything. I have a laundry list of things here, between, you know, packing and cleaning and working and all that good stuff, trying to get through, because I'm gone Friday morning. I have clients picking up orders, so lots of stuff. I guess if my life wasn't, I don't want to use the word chaotic, because that's not true. It's not chaotic. Busy. I like to be busy. Yes, I also like the times where I can sit down and just stitch and not have to worry about anything or not leave the house. But I do like busy. And it's funny, because at the beginning of the week, I will sit down and say, is there a day this week that I do not have to leave the house? And I did that the other day, and I looked at my calendar and I said, the next day that I am not leaving my house is March 20th. So there's a lot going on. And then after that, it's going to be like after Easter or something like that. I don't know. But you know what? This is the time of year. This is the fun time. The sunshine and the garden shows and things like that. I don't mind leaving the house. It's in the dead of winter that I don't want to go. I did have to laugh, because my daughter, who lives on Long Island, got hit with well over 2 feet of snow over President's Day weekend. And I kind of giggled, because I think we got maybe an inch, maybe 2. And, you know, obviously she was born and raised here. She was very adapted to snow. But she was snowed in. I said, okay, you know, stay home, work on puzzles, do whatever, and just enjoy it, because sometimes we need that time. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to go through. I have finishes, I have fully finishes, I have things to talk to you about. So I do want to get all through this. And I'm using my calendar. Now this year, I did not buy a book of days. And I have used them for the past few years. But this year, I said, you know, I'm going to try just a regular calendar. It has the monthly, and then it has the day where you can write in. So I'm not sure I like it yet. I'm not sure I like it. Um, Obviously, there's more space, but we'll see. The verdict is still out. I might go back to the Book of Days. The only thing with the Book of Days is it's the 1 month at a time, and there's really not much room to write, and that's why I wanted to try this year. Plus, I can put stickers in it. I mean, yes, I put stickers in my Book of Days, but I can put bigger stickers in here because there's more space. And I love my stickers. As a matter of fact, I have not stickered up for March. This is my sticker bin. So I got lots of stickers. So after I get done here, I'm going to put some stickers in for March. All right, so let me go through. I'm going to go day by day, which is going to be a little bit more helpful to me. So my last floss tube was February 16th, and I know that I did show you my St. Patrick's Day things, but I'm going to show them again because now I have 4 finished St. Patrick's Day items. Now, this I believe I showed this last time, but I'm going to do it again because I have a little something to say about it. This is Lucky. This was a free stitch from Primrose Cottage, the ladies from Primrose Cottage. And if you receive their emails, you will get a monthly free stitch. And I believe last time I showed you the Valentine's Day one that I finished. So all you have to do is go over there and sign up for their email. Now they have a stitching email and they have a quilting email, and you will get a free quilt pattern, a small one. They're really good for like table runners or just table toppers. But then again, you can always take something like that and make it bigger and make it into a quilt, right? So you get every month a cross stitch or a quilt, but you have to sign up for both of them. So this was for March. Well, actually it came in February, so it could be done for March. Now, one of the things that I want to start a movement. Okay? So if you're with me on this, let's move forward. Whenever you post anything to social media, and I see this a lot, I see it in quilting, especially in quilting. And I also see it in cross stitch on all platforms of social media. When somebody starts out and says, it's not perfect, but we are already degrading our own work. We are taking ourselves down a notch. And why are we doing that? And why are we allowing others to do that? It bothers me so much to the point that there are a couple of quilters that I have unfollowed because every time they talk about what they're doing, it has to be perfect. And I'm sorry, I think we're sending the wrong message. And I think we're sending it across all platforms in everything that we do. Are my quilt blocks always perfect? No. Am I losing sleep over it? No. Because I guarantee you, if I'm making a quilt and I don't meet a point somewhere, when I finish my whole entire quilt and I quilt it, if you want to sit there and look for that point that I cut off, be my guest. If you want to look at my piece here, and there are mistakes in this, if you want to screenshot this or go check over on my Instagram and sit there with the pattern and find my mistakes, go right ahead. I don't have time for that. I want us to be encouraging, especially to, and I hate to say, I call them the baby quilters and the baby stitchers, the newbies, right? I want to be encouraging to them. I have been sewing for 50 years. I was making prom dresses by the time I was 16. Okay? I made wedding dresses. I have made everything in between, men's suits, everything, right down to shorts and PJs. I have been stitching for as long. I was not always at my height of stitching, like, when I was running my sewing business, maybe I didn't stitch every day. Now I try to stitch every day. Maybe there were times that I didn't stitch but once every couple of months. But I have been stitching and sewing and crocheting for 50 years. How discouraging is it if you are somebody new and you pick something up and you try your best, and the first thing somebody does is points out your mistakes? How do we teach? Okay, so yes, we want people to get better, but if the first thing you do is sit there and scrutinize and look for their mistake to point it out, shame on you. So I propose that we don't do that unless somebody specifically says, hey, would you look this over and see if I have made any mistakes? Now, I am in a texting group with my lady friends from the retreat that I attended last fall. And we don't text every day. We could probably go a couple of weeks. But when we do, everybody chimes in. Now, over the weekend, one of my friends sent a screenshot and she said, hey, do you think I should unpick this? It's not in the right spot. It's over 2 threads. I think she was stitching on 46 count. I'm like, oh God, 36 is max for me right now, right? But anyway, so I looked at it. Now, she only sent a screenshot of a small spot. And I said, you know what, for me, without knowing the whole picture or where it is in the design or whatever, I would stitch just a couple stitches around it to make it pull into the piece below. She said that it was in line with the border. The pattern shows it one way. And I basically said, are you going to remember you made this mistake 10 years from now? She's like, no. I said, then what does it matter? Now, yes, I make mistakes. I make mistakes. Everything I'm going to show you today has a mistake in it. Everything. And that's okay with me. There are pieces that I do try very hard, like when I did my Americana Red and I put it into for judging last year. It didn't have mistakes per se, but it had a lot of design changes because I eliminated a bunch of stuff and I put some new things in and I had to make it work. So were there actual mistakes in that? Looking at it, I don't think so. If I did, I don't remember. Okay? I am telling you there are mistakes in this. And I kept going. If it is such an egregious error that it is really throwing something off, I'm going to have to fix it. I can see one mistake right here now, which I actually forgot that I did, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it. It's not going to ruin my day. But when we purposely look at somebody's work, the very first thing we do is look for their mistakes. That is a disservice. And I'm really, anytime I see a post like that, I will hop on and I will say, please don't degrade yourself immediately. I might not use those particular words, but please don't do that. Be proud of your work. And let's not do that to our fellow stitchers. So anyway, this I finished. Now, excuse me 1 second. Kitty Cat wants to go to the other room. Now she changed her mind. You know, I've started this video 7 times today. I can't. I got to get through this. So what was I saying? Oh, making this pillow. Okay. So the first thing I did was put some quilt batting behind this, the actual Aida cloth. Then I made my pillow, just scraps of fabric. I did stitch all 4 corners closed, and I did the where you make the slit in here and then you cover it with this extra piece. I'm not a fan of that. And if I'm doing something that's going to stay out year round, like actually I have pieces right here, like this little girl right here. This is I believe this is a Brenda Gervais piece. Like this, I didn't do that. I left an opening at the bottom and stuffed her that way. But if it's something that's going to be sitting out all of the time, I'm not going to do it that way. But for something that's seasonal, I'm fine with it. So I made my slice. I used lizard litter. So this is pretty heavy here, right? And then what I did was after I filled it to where I liked it, I put some polyfill over the lizard litter at the slice so that the lizard litter didn't come out or doesn't come out. And then I just stitched a piece of fabric on there. Finished it with some jute, glued on some little trinkety things, and that's that. So I have this piece that I fully finished. Can't remember if I showed you this one, but I don't think so. I think I finished this the next day. This was last year's Primrose freebie. And I did the same thing. There's some quilt batting behind here. It's finished with lizard litter. I did the slicing. I filled it, put some polyfill in there, and then I just glued this over the back. This has mistakes too. If you want to figure it out where they are, be my guest, right? But it worked out fine. My other two pieces, I believe I might have showed this to you. This one, I did this last year, and I never fully finished it until I was working on these pieces. And this, I believe, is on something like that's used for hardanger. What a pain in the tuchus it was to work with this fabric, which is why this piece is only this big. It's actually a bigger piece. I did make some boo-boos on here. I know I did. I don't know where they are anymore, but I did. I don't care, right? This was a little display piece that I found at Hobby Lobby, and I literally glued this on. Now, I did buy this piece last year, but I do know that they have them again this year because I saw them. And then lastly, and I also believe I showed this in my last video, but I'm going to show it again. It's my other piece. This was another freebie, and I really cannot remember who the designer was. Usually what I do for all holidays is I will Google free cross-stitch designs. St. Patrick's Day, Easter, Valentine's Day, Christmas, right? 4th of July. Almost every single designer has something that they offer, a small that you can do. This one, I believe there were two, and I'm pretty sure I downloaded them both, but I only got one done. Turned it into a pillow, nothing fancy. This is an envelope backing, so that if I choose to take this pillow out and use it for something else for Easter, I have the pillow form. So it's a 12-inch pillow, and then I just kind of did a little tuck around the end. Nothing fancy. That's it. And I did this piece in 2023. So those are my St. Patrick's pieces. I don't believe I have any others that I've done. I try to do one small a year for a holiday, whether it's Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, whatever. If you receive the Primrose Cottage emails, every month you'll get something, and it's generally geared toward the upcoming holiday. I think the one for that they just sent out might be for spring. I didn't even print it off yet. So those were those pieces, fully finished, and they are sitting out for decoration. The other thing that I did, and I showed you my Afghan, that Minnie Mouse Afghan that I was making for my granddaughter. I fully finished that. I got all of the little yarn ends woven in, and I gave that to her a week ago. I did not want it to sit here with all of those yarn ends and me going, oh, I don't want to finish that, and then have it become something that sits here for 4 years, and then, So I got that all done. I started that Afghan for her, I think it was January 9th, and I worked on it every single day, except for maybe 2 days until I fully finished it. I really wanted to get it done. And honestly, after the cataract surgery, that was probably the easiest thing to work on because, clearly it's bigger. I did try to work on my The Earth Laughs by Brenda Gervais. I didn't bring that out to show you. I think I might have put in maybe 6 stitches. But being that I'm working on linen, it was a little difficult still with seeing that close. I'm trying to find the right glasses that are working for me. And of course, back in February, my eyes were still healing. And then unbeknownst to me, because I kept rubbing my eyes so hard, I got some abrasions on my corneas, which is also why I still have just a little bit of not clear vision. And I'm popping drops in my eyes like crazy. But that's okay. So I really didn't get much accomplished on that piece, and I know I'm going to be bringing her out because, oh, I just love that piece. So what else did I work on? I did work on Hope. Here she is over here. Hope, Summer at Pansy Patch. And again, I didn't have much trouble. Where's my board? I didn't have much trouble with her, but I'm trying to get back into my picker wheel like I worked on last year. And I really enjoy that picker wheel because what I've been doing, or what I had started doing like in the fall-ish, I want to say it was in the fall, I would pull up a whip and work on it 2 to 3 days. I was also last year working monogamously. Well, I don't want to say monogamously because I didn't work on it every day. I was working on it like every few weeks. The temperature Quaker, and I've shown that already. So there were a few pieces last year that I was working on, and then my picker wheel was like a once a week kind of thing. But what I really want to do this year, because I have so many whips, close to 50, which is not a lot compared to some people, but I want to work on them. I love them. They're so pretty, and I want to get them done and up on my walls. So I'm trying to go through my picker wheel and work on something for 3 days and then move on and get something else. And I want to work through the whole wheel and then go back and start again. So this is Hope, Summer at Pansy Patch Manor. And what I worked on here were the hearts. I did finish the fill-in on the house. And, you know, it doesn't look like a lot, but it's a lot. So it's very pretty. This is the pattern. This is the pattern overall. And then here's the actual design, what it looks like. I really like it. As I said, what I'm working on now is the heart border. I want to get that around. I want to bring the heart border across the bottom, as you can see. And then I want to work on the flower pot. So this girl got a few days. It is a smaller Ada. Let me see. I know I have it written down in here. Tell you exactly what I'm working. Did I write it on my card? I did not. I'm going to move this down here because I think I have it written on the pattern itself. As I don't use Pattern Keeper. I've tried and it just doesn't work for me, but I always make a working copy. So this way I can mark it all up. So on my working copy, which is a mess, what am I doing? I'm working on 18 count Ada 1/1 because I have notes all over the place. I started this on September 12th of 2024. And apparently I'm using different colors. I mark my notes on here because if I put separate notes in the bag, in my project bag, I'll lose them. So I am using the called for colors, which are very pretty. Got Classic Colorworks, got Weeks Dye Works. They're very pretty. They're my colors. I love the earth tone colors. I am definitely a summer type person. I love summer and spring, but I like the colors of fall. So go figure. So I did work on her. She got some love. Now she's going to go back into the pile, but she will not get pulled out again until I've gone through my full rotation of all of my whips. Now, the next thing that popped up on my picker wheel was Wee Santa. This guy gave me agita. Now, the reason he gave me agita is because I used the same fabric that I used here, which I really think is more for heart hanger. It just was not, it's not an Ada. It's not, but I chose him. Well, he popped up on my picker wheel. This is the full pattern here. It's by Heart and Hand. We Santa 2023. And the reason I chose this guy was because the flowers reminded me of quilt blocks. And the colors. I really like pink for Christmas, you know, for pink and teal. I really do like that color combination. So here's my guy. Here's my wee Santa. Now, I even put the beads on. Santa even has the beads. Now again, there are mistakes in this. And I actually found another one when I was completely finishing putting the beads on. I said, oh. But I went with it. I said, I'm not going to lose sleep over this. This more than likely will be turned into a pillow because if I, like I said, you know, this is a good size like this. I'll throw some Christmas fabric around it. He'll be a cute pillow. But I'm not going to stress over the imperfections on this piece. I enjoyed stitching it. I did stitch 1 over 2, and more than likely I could have used 2 over 2, but I like the look of a softer, muted. I don't mind seeing the fabric through the threads. That has never bothered me, probably because I've been doing it that way since I learned how. I don't like where it's very thick and raised, but that's my personal preference. So when I look at him and I see that his beard is actually blending more into the fabric, even though if you look on the pattern, these colors look much more vivid. I used the called for colors, but again, I used 1 strand, and I'm okay with that. So I thought about outlining his beard and doing some outlines, and I said, no, I'm not. I'm going to leave him like he is. To me, it looks primitive. Oh, that's who that is. I believe this pattern here is Primitive Gatherings. I think that's what this pattern is. Look at that, how things pop into our mind. But anyway, so there are quite a few little changes to this. But I'm not going to worry about it because now he's finished. So he's going to go back downstairs. He's going to go into the pile of the finished items that need fully finishing. And more than likely, I will turn him into a pillow next year and be done with it. So that was another piece I worked on. And when I pulled him up, when he popped up on the picker wheel and I saw that I didn't have much left, I said, I'm going to focus on him until I get him done. Now, I did try to do color completion with this, but because of this fabric and the difficulty counting, which is why I have quite a few mistakes in there, I said I'm just going to do sections. And again, it's a lot of confetti stitching to me. When I'm only stitching 5 or 6 stitches and then I got to change a color, it's confetti stitching to me. But that's okay. I was fine with it, and along I went. So he became a finish. Now, let me see. My picker wheel was my wee Santa. Got that all done. And then wee Santa, and I finished him on the 26th. So on the 27th, I spun my picker wheel again. And as I said, what I did last year is I worked on a piece and then I pulled it off the wheel, and I really like that picker wheel because you can eliminate numbers. So when I started the picker wheel again this year, I put all my numbers back in except for my finished numbers because I have everything in order here. So there's quite a few things that I have already finished and have taken off my wheel. Like I think I have 56. I have a second book. I think I have 56 or 57 numbered pieces, but 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. 13 of them are I've taken off of the wheel when I go to spin the wheel because they're either finished or I'm UFOing them, and that's something else I'm going to talk about. So the next piece that popped up on my picker wheel was Autumn Love. Now, I do not believe I worked on her at all last year. And this is a Lori Holt piece. And she's big. This is it here. Autumn Love by Lori Holt. And when I started it, I was in love with it. And the more I work on it, the more out of love I become. And the reason is I don't like the house. I'm looking at this house saying, if this is something that I am stitching for my home, I want it to look like my home. I don't like the squirrels. I'm not a fan of the pumpkins. I think that it's obviously it's geared for autumn, you know, and fall and the colors and everything. Now I love the colors. I don't have a problem with that at all. But I kept putting it to the side, and every time I spun the picker wheel last year, I'm like, oh my God, I hope I don't get Autumn Love. I hope I don't get Autumn Love. Well, I got it this year. And my mind has finally said, you know what to do. This is your piece. Change it. Okay. Initially, what I was going to do is just change the color of the house. I'm going to change the house. I want it to look like my house. So when I get to that point, I will, I have, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4. I had to look in the sunroom. I have 4 sets of windows across the front of my house with a front door. That is my sunroom. So when I redo this, I'm going to put 4 sets of windows and then the door off to the side. And then I have 3 windows upstairs in my bedroom. So I will take this house, lay it out, and actually the chimney's on the other side too. I'm going to lay it out, chart the house the way it is, and then I'm going to change my windows. I have shutters on my upstairs windows, on my bedroom windows. I do not have shutters downstairs. So I'm happy now. Now I know what I want to do. I knew all along that I wanted to change that, and I'm not going to stitch in the word autumn. I might stitch in the word family, rechart the letters. I might make it grass. I don't know. I'm not going to worry about that, but I know I'm going to change the house. I am not stitching the words autumn. So I had the whole outside border done. Where's my board? Here it is. I had the whole outside border done. This has all been done for quite some time. Oh goodness. So all of my pieces have been done. I even looked at this and said, well, can I cut the inside out and put a quilt block in there? Which is something I did with another one of Lori Holt pieces. I said, you know what, I want to turn it into a cross stitch and quilt piece. And I did. It's hanging in my hall. But because I had already done all of my border pieces, there wasn't enough. Honestly, it would have been too much work, to be very honest. So I kept looking at that going, all right, what I'm going to do when it came up on my picker wheel, I said, okay, I've got this to do yet. I've got 2 sides and then the bottom done here. So I will finish that. So if you look on the pattern here, I'm going to finish this gray border, and then I'm going to put these pieces in. Oops. These little quilt blocks in. And then when I get to the point where I have to do the house, I will change things. I don't mind having the moon there. These blue things remind me of snowflakes, like right here. They remind me of snowflakes, so I might pull those out, even though it does snow in the fall. So I'm just kind of going to go from there. I'm going to change the look of the house. I'm not going to put in the pumpkins. I'm definitely not putting in the squirrels. And I will be fine with that. I'm going to change the window shape of the front door because I have a square glass. I have 3-paned leaded glass in my front door. So I know I can do it. Is this piece going to get done this year? Absolutely not. Will she get done? Yes, because now I have a plan. So I was happy with this. I stitched on her for a few days. Last night was my last night to stitch on her because I am trying to do 3 days on a whip. And she will go back into the pile and be pulled from my rotation. Now, last night I also spun the wheel again. And I said, no. I have let this sit here now for 2 years. And when I spun the wheel, and I thought about this, I said, I can't do it. I'm not. I made this choice last year. I let it sit. And I even have a note in my book for it. When I purchased this pattern, it's not that I don't like the pattern. When I purchased the pattern, I purchased the wrong one. I initially wanted the one by Primrose Cottage because Lori Holt was working on it, and I'm going back a couple years at least, and I ended up getting the one by Silver Creek Samplers. And this is called my Christmas list. And I like this pattern. I really do. But I can tell you, I am not going to stitch this. It's too much. It's just too much. And I did start it twice. The first time I started it, I was using, I think, 2 threads. And this is on, let me see my notes. Oh, it's not in here. It's on 32 count Coco Lugana. And I was stitching 2 over 2. And I didn't like it. So every time, I looked at it, I popped it over to the side. I'm like, I don't like it. This was my initial start. Now, if you remember, I just told you I like a more muted look. This was too thick. I wasn't happy. I was struggling bringing the 2 threads through. It is a 32 count, so a 16 count technically. It could be stitched with 1 or 2, but this is very tightly woven. So I wasn't happy. So then I said, okay, well, let's try it with 1 strand. Let's do 1 over 2. So I restarted it on the opposite end because I have a big enough piece. And then this is my 1 over 2. And I like it better. But there are things on here that I'm just not, they're not words that resonate with me. This particular one was not one that just, there's too much to it. Now, can I pull pieces out? Can I do part of it? I really can't, because if you look at this pattern, there are sections, but I decided that I don't want to take my time to stitch this because I'm not going to be happy. It's not going to get done in a timely manner. It might take me 8 years. I don't want that. I want to be stitching on my my pieces. So this piece is going to be a UFO. I'm going to unkit it because I do have all of my floss. I'll put all my DMC back, and I will put the pattern in in a share. I will give it to somebody that wants to stitch it. Now, as I said, I did start the one that I wanted to actually stitch. And which one is it? Is it in here? Is it in this book? It's the one by Primrose, and it is a Christmas one. It must be listed in my other book, but that's neither here nor there. And I actually wrote a note in here. Now, I initially started this on July 3rd of 2023. And I wrote a note in here. I don't know when because I didn't date it, but it says, I completely do not want to do this too much and not really want to take all that time. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is me being honest with me. If I'm stitching something, I want to love it. I want to be excited to get it done. I'm not excited to get that done. So I'm going to unkit it. It's a UFO. I will put the fabric back into my bin and go from there. And it's okay to do that. So then after I looked at that last night and said, no, I am not going to stitch on that one. I spun the picker wheel again. And it's funny because I'm coming up with things that I haven't touched in a long time. The Gobbletons. Now, I will stitch on this week before I go to Florida. So I will stitch Tuesday night and Thursday night because I do have to work tonight and Wednesday. But I'll get a little bit on here. Now, this is another piece that I'm not 100% happy about. And I think, well, clearly it's my problem. Esther again. Cat needed to go. So this is the new Gobbletons. It's very cute. It's by RETM. And there's a bunch of them. There's one for Christmas. They're very cute. Now, when I bought this, I bought the fabric for it. And I don't feel that I started it too low. Because in looking here, if you look at the picture, you can see that it started at the bottom of the pumpkin. But what I'm finding, I lost my board. Here it is. I'm going to hold up this whole piece. Look at how big this piece is. There is no way that if I finish this like this, that I'm going to have this big of an expanse up here, right? So I'm looking at this now and I'm thinking, well, I could finish it. Like if you look at the picture, the top of the pumpkin stem is the top of the piece. Okay. So then I looked at that and I said, well, let me put the top of the pumpkin at the top. There is still a huge expanse over here that's going to be bare. So when I was working on this, because I'm on the girl now, again, let me hold this up for like the 5th time. I'm over here. I'm working on the girl. So I've got to put something at the top because clearly I don't want to cut off the top of the pumpkin. It's going to look ridiculous. And even on here, the more I look at it, it's so bare. If you look at the other pieces that were done, they're more centered in the frame. So I know that I had some ideas with this. Maybe, you know, putting Happy Thanksgiving or something on here. But I know that this piece, I will not finish this piece this year. But I am going to finish her. She's the one I'm working on. And then when I get it done, I'm going to figure out what else I can put up in here. Maybe what I can do is you know, like where artists, when they do watercoloring, they will watercolor and then they'll come along and they'll just highlight with a marker. I might just come along and highlight with some threads and just, you know, kind of go in and fill that in. I don't know. It will speak to me when I get there. But right now, my little girl, she's going to take up, she's only going to come to about here. So then I have all of this up here. So she'll be like here. And then I'll have all of that extra. But I can't decide what I'm going to do until she's done. So she's going to be my next, I will work on her twice this week, tomorrow night and Thursday night. And this one, now I do know that initially when I was working on the guy, I did have a couple of boo-boos and I did have to fix them because this is very much a Quaker in my eye and it needs to be symmetrical. So the boo-boos that I did make, I did have to fix. But this is the next one on my picker wheel. No, I don't iron my fabric, and yes, I still leave my needles in, but I put them in the outside. So there. So this is the next one on the picker wheel. This is all DMC that I am using, and all fall colors. Love them. Now, here's the other thing. I know that we've talked about these magnetic boards. And I found mine on Amazon. I also found these magnetic strips now years ago, and I still have mine, and it's actually in another project. It was a clear plastic, almost like magnifier type magnet that rested across. It had a line through it. I wish I could remember the name of it. I'm sure some of you old stitchers that have been stitching as long as I have will remember. And you were able to just kind of like put it at the line where you're at. I don't want to show you this because clearly my pattern is right here. So what I do in an area that has a lot of the stitching is I will use this just to kind of guide myself so that I don't, you know, I'm looking at my piece, I'm looking at my pattern, my piece, my pattern. And something like this, it's very easy to lose your space. Also with my pieces, as I said, I make a working copy and I still mark off with a marker. That's, you know, that's why I use colored pencils. They're very easy, they're cheap, and they're easy to store, and it works well for me. Now, I generally do not use needle minders. I put my needles in my fabric, but this one, I saw it somewhere, and I had to get it, and now I can't open it. You might recognize it. Let me turn it the right way. I paid way too much for it. Look at it. Can you see it? It's a sewing tin, and it does open. It's the one where you get the cookies at Christmas. There we go. See? I literally just have it on here because it's cute, and I did pay way too much money for it, but it's cute. I get excited when I walk into the stores, especially like at the wholesale stores, and they sell the tins of cookies, and you know, everybody always teases that, oh my God, they got the sewing kits for sale. So as I said, my little girl here is going to get 2 nights, and then I will move on to my next. I'll let the picker wheel pick whatever is next, and go from there. But there are quite a few pieces that I have on my list that I have not touched yet. They are not starts, officially starts, but I put them on there because I want to start. I was going to add a new piece after I finished my Wee Santa, but I said, no, I've got to get through maybe 10. Maybe I'll give myself Oh, that's really a lot. I don't think I have 10 things that are close to a finish. Or maybe what I'll do, because I am the boss of my own stitching, after I work on 10 whips, then I can add a new start. That's good, because that's like 10 weeks. My plan is to work on a whip for 3 nights, 3 stitching nights. I am taking some things with me to Florida, and they are the primrose pieces. And I'm just taking them because I'm stitching them on Ada, and it'll just be easy to stitch in the car. I'm lucky I can stitch in the car, so I will have those. It'll be easy to see the Ada cloth and stuff, but I am taking those. So the next week or so of picker wheel stuff, I'm not going to do till I come back from Florida. So now, what else? I have, let me put this like this. I do have some Happy Mail. And this is only a partial order. I did order some things from Hobby House. That is from Market, but I'm not going to talk about that until I get it. I have a sneaking suspicion I already have this. Oops. I don't know. It's either something that has been on my radar and I didn't buy it because I do have a computer. I did do a spreadsheet, an Excel sheet, but I haven't kept up with it. So, Girl in Her Garden by Brenda Gervais. I'm not going to do a drum. I will do this in a piece. Let me show you what it looks like whole, because it clearly is supposed to be for a drum. I don't want to show the colors. I just want to show them the pattern. So that's it finished, or what it looks like whole. So I don't want to do it as a drum, so I don't know when I get started. Maybe I'll do it as a long roll, turn it into a pillow like that, or find something that I can mount it to. I don't know. I have no designs as to how I'm going to finish it, except that I want to stitch it. So I have that. And I did get floss. And I bought the floss to go with the pattern that I'm getting from Market. I wanted to make sure I had all of my floss plus the floss for this. And I did get the linen that I want. Maybe you'll even recognize the pattern. It is a Brenda Gervais pattern, but this is the Cedar River linen that goes with the pattern. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but this is Cedar River linen. I love this. I love their linen. And I can tell you right now, when I go to retreat in June, just as I did in September, I will be at the wall cabinet where the Cedar River linen is, picking a lot of it. So this is, let me see here. Ugh, need my glasses. This is 36 count red Cedar River linen, and it goes with a new Brenda Gervais pattern that's coming out. And I will get that after Market, so I will definitely show you then. And I think there's 2 patterns that I ordered. And then I also ordered from my shop that's local to me, Lazy Daisy Stitching. There is a piece that I ordered that is a Lori Holt piece that I've been looking at for a year. Came out in 2023. And I messaged her and I'm like, hey, I don't see this on your website. Can you get it? And she said yes. And I said, okay, if you please kit it up for me. Just give me the floss. I think it uses Classic Colorworks. I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. I told her to kit it up for me. And then there is another piece that I just messaged her. I sent her a picture the other day. I'm like, can you get this one too? And she said, yep, it's already on my list. So I do have 1, 2, 3. I have 4 pieces. 3, 4, whatever, coming. One of them is an old release. The other 3 are new. I'm excited about that. One other thing I want to chat about, and I'm only going to do it briefly because I have talked about when I first started my YouTube channel, it was for quilting. And I tried to make quilt videos, but the problem is I don't edit. As you can tell, I don't edit my videos. I try to go through. I make mistakes when I speak. I indicate the wrong things. I love doing this, but I don't have the skill for editing, nor the patience, to be very honest. I just don't have the patience for it. So I try to just go through and give you what I got. Now, this is why I had to start this video 7 times already. And I can tell you we are at 55 minutes. I have a hard time keeping it under an hour. But what I want to do, and it will obviously be in a separate video, is after Easter, I am planning to really go back into my quilt videos. I tried to do a bunch of them. I tried to do them as shorts, and I tried to post them up, and it just didn't work for me. So I think I want to follow the same format, doing a quilting video. But the problem is my quilt studio is chaotic. And sometimes it's a little embarrassing because that is how I work. So I have to find the best setup for me to continuously video what it is that I want to do. Now, if you are a quilter, and I am going to finish this, chit-chatting about quilting. So if you don't want to stick around, I completely understand. If you do, please. I have mentioned many, many times that Kim Deal is my ultimate favorite quilt designer and fabric designer. I will buy her fabrics and covet them. I have so much of her stuff. She was doing a simple whatnots quilt patterns or quilt kits for, I have multiples of them. Anyway, she came out with a quilt builder card deck. Now, I've seen this with other, I think Missouri Star even has one out. I think I have it as well. But this is what I received recently. I purchased it. I saw it coming out. I pre-ordered it, and I just couldn't wait. Now, if I were to be very honest with myself, I could go through my Kim Deal books and my Kim Deal patterns and probably find every single one of these blocks. But that takes time, and I want to use my time to sew or cross stitch. So what I'm going to do in April, I'm going to take these blocks one at a time, and I'm going to work on them. Now, I'm not going to give measurements per se, because that's kind of like giving away a free pattern. But each of these blocks has measurements on the back to make the block. And it has making 6, 8, 10, 12, and 36 inch. So this block could be made into a 36 inch quilt, like a table topper, and you would only need to make one. Or you could take 6 of these, or make the 6 inch block and make, 6 across and 6 down, and make enough blocks to get your 36 inch. And then you would have a different design. So my goal with this, and this is for me, right? Here's another one. It's called Midnight Star. Same thing. It gives the cutting sizes to make anything from 6 up to 36 inch. This is double Midnight Star. So what I would like to do, this is called Wind Spinner. And looking at these, I see where she has used these in her quilts. There's also grids for laying things out. So what I want to do is take these blocks and just work through them, talking about my tips for quilting, how I quilt. I'm not the end all be all, right? I know that there are other ways to do things. Same with cross stitch. I do what works best for me. I do what is pleasing for me, what makes me happy, whether it's cross stitching, quilting, baking. Don't even get me started on how I am trying to perfect my chocolate chip cookie recipe. So we do things that please us. What I want to do is share my knowledge. And, maybe there's something there that works for you that you turn around and say, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. My quilting style has changed through the years. One thing I do not do is starch my fabrics. Some people swear by it. They starch it so bad it's dripping wet and then they let it dry. What I have learned working with some of Kim's patterns, because some of her blocks are 1 inch, using a light starch helps to not make your fabric shift out of shape. I do like to learn new techniques. I do like to take people's advice into account and see if it works for me. But that's what I'm going to start to do. The problem, again, lies in the fact that my sewing room, my quilt studio, because I have 2 rooms. I have a sewing room upstairs, a quilt studio downstairs. They're both chaotic because I work on multiple projects at once, as evidenced by the number of cross-stitch whips that I have. I have more quilt whips. But my goal this year is to work through these things and not to really start anything new until I finish a few things. And I know we all say that, and market comes and we say we're not going to buy anything, and then we do. QuiltCon just happened. There's all kinds of quilt patterns always coming out. There's always freebies. There's always things to make. There's quilt-alongs. There's stitch-alongs. There's everything else. And I think sometimes we just get so overwhelmed by what's available. We need to go back to the basics. So starting in April, I am going to be taking this Quilt Builder block, card deck, and working through these blocks. And in the end, I will have myself another sampler quilt, because there are 40 blocks in this quilt, and I'm going to make probably the 6-inch blocks. So 40 blocks, that could be 5 across and 8 down, or 6 wouldn't work, 7 wouldn't work. So it would probably have to be 5 across and 8 down for the 40 blocks, and then maybe putting in some borders or whatever. Who knows? Who knows how it's going to turn out? But it will be a scrappy quilt, and I love scrappy quilts. I'm very much about using different blocks and using multitudes of fabrics. And of course, for my Kim Deal here, I will primarily use Kim Deal fabrics. I also have fabrics by Joe Morton. It's kind of the same fallish colors and things like that. But if you're interested, please hang around. Keep an eye out. They will be separate videos from the cross stitch videos. I will definitely be, labeling them quilting something or other. But I do pre-warn you that when I invite you into my quilt studio, you're going to say, how do you work in something like this? I just do. So, my friends, I have talked with you longer than I had anticipated. I've got laundry to do, packing to do, lists to make. I have client work downstairs that I've got to get to today before I go to work tonight. But I just wanted to share some time with you before I go to Disney with my grandchildren. I cannot wait to come back and tell you all about it, because I'm going to gush about it. I do expect to cry when I walk into Magic Kingdom, because that is magical for me. I remember the very first time I saw the castle, and I remembered back to Sunday nights watching Walt Disney World on TV and seeing, right? So walking down Main Street, if you've ever been to Disney and you walk down Main Street, that is my favorite place. My second favorite place is Epcot, because I really like going to all of the different worlds. And I will be buying myself a new coffee cup because, you know, how many coffee cups do I need? Hundreds. Hundreds. This one is actually supposed to be downstairs holding pens. I don't know how it came upstairs. I think I just brought it up one day with pens in it and washed it and said, okay, we're just going to use this again. This is from Missouri Star. But anyway, I wish you all well. If you do have daylight savings, as I said, I do believe it starts next week, or this coming, a week from Saturday, the 8th. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. I thought that I saw that. So this coming weekend should be daylight savings. Keep an eye out for that. Spring is going to be just a couple weeks away, a few weeks away. I know our temps are going to, my husband's like, oh, we're going to have temps in the 50s over the weekend. I said, I'm going to be down in Florida. We're going to have higher temps. So, but I do hope that when I come back, when I peek around my gardens in the front, that I'll see little tulips and things popping up. So I will see you when I get back. I will have stories to tell. I will show you the pieces that I did work on, and I am taking things with me. Like I said, I do have some things from Primrose, and they're all, you know, stitchy related. So if you happen to have any of those things, you kind of probably know what I mean. If you have any questions, please leave them below. Please like my video. I would love it if you did that. Interact with me. I really get excited when I see that I have a new subscriber or somebody has left me a message. I'm like, oh, you know, I do try to respond as quickly as I can. So I hope your needle stays sharp, that your thread doesn't knot, and you just stitch your way right through a whip so you can start something new. And if you're getting anything from Market, please let me know. I would love to see what you're getting too. Take care, my friends. I'll see you after Disney.